when it all comes tumbling down. Well, this story starts as it's falling apart. At this point in my life, I'm at the hardest mental and physical battle. I'm trying to keep it together. But this is how it starts, not how it finishes. I will tell you what lays ahead of me because of my stupid choices, arrogant ways, and no courage to face life without drugs and alcohol. I'm looking at losing my daughter and my girlfriend, a long prison sentence, being deported, a lifetime of regret. My dad doesn't know about my legal issues. I'm 10,000 kilometers from him. His heart's about to give out. I may never see him again. He may never meet my daughter. My partner is also pregnant with my son. Family no longer wants anything to do with me. I have an insurance settlement from an injury that changed everything. I need it for my girlfriend, my daughter, and my unborn son. It may all now be lost due to my legal battles. I'll describe it as we go. I've lost my business, my drive, my reputation, my motivation to live. But they're still fighting me. I have a little flame left. It hasn't left, but it's very small, and I have to fight to grow it. After an injury that pretty much took me from everything I've ever known, I started living to die, not living to live. The story I'm about to tell you is one only few have ever been able to endure. I'm not telling this story as a victim, but hopefully as a victor. Let's see how this story turns out, as today is the day I hit rock bottom. I now realize my life is not my own anymore. It belongs to my daughter and my unborn son. I'm no longer allowed to live a selfish, self-indulgent life. I've come to find comfort in numbness. Being an athlete my entire life seems so surreal I find myself at this point. I've spent years of perfecting my sport of boxing and have been privileged to work and train several world champions in both boxing and MMA. I know dedication, hard work, restraint, loneliness, it all comes with winning. I've been extreme in everything I've ever done. I've had the body of Adonis, the cars, the houses, the yachts, the parties, the very minor fame, and everything else so many work for but never really succeed in getting. Now it's been stolen. Not by any man or woman, not by the government, or anything I can say wasn't my fault. It was stolen by the other me. The other me that's trying to take over and destroy my true self. Again, this story doesn't end this way, but this is where I'll start.
What made you write that?
Well, I realized that I had turned my back on who I really was. Mm-hmm. And once you go down that rabbit hole, you don't really realize how much you've actually lost until you look back up and you see everybody that you ever loved, ever wanted to be around, they're no longer there. It's a whole new crowd that's fickle, and they won't be there. So I realized that. Yeah, I was looking down like the end of everything.
We're going to put a quick pause right here before we get to Grady Stewart's episode to thank our sponsors. This is a phenomenal episode, but let's take 2 seconds to just thank the people that keep the lights on in this studio. First off, it's loanoptions.ai. If you need a loan and you're in Australia, go to loanoptions.ai before you go to any bank. Loanoption.ai is Australia's premier AI loan platform with powerful data and AI matching technology that gives Australians their best loan option. I was super proud of these guys. They've been on Channel 7, actually did a piece on them of how much they've assisted Aussies in savings when it comes to loan and financing. So I'm really, really, really proud of them. They've grown so much. With this sponsor, it's a little harder, e-commerce. I can tell you guys, look, use this discount code and it's transactional. Loans, I know it takes a little longer of a process. However, if you know any family member or friend that is in need of a loan, tell them, do not go straight to a bank. Go to loanoptions.ai. This episode is also brought to you by Ancestral Nutrition, certified grass-fed beef liver and beef organ capsules. Enjoy the most concentrated source of just about every nutrient, including vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, and essential amino acids. Go to ancestralnutrition.com.au, use code Diogo10 for 10% off. If you're lacking in energy, I highly recommend the beef liver capsules because it's great. You don't need to go through the liver taste to get the benefits. You just add it to your stack, have it in the morning, and you'll see that you will feel energized throughout the day. Go to ancestralnutrition.com.au. This episode is also brought to you by the Christian Mission. Now, with this one, I don't have a promo code set up for you guys just yet, but it is a good cause. If you're a Christian and you're looking for good apparel and good fabric, this is the brand for you. I've got a couple jumpers that they sent me. They have not worn out at all. They feel good and they're like heavy, Sometimes you get these jumpers that are just a bit too light and you're still freezing. This one is quite heavy and is good fabric and good material. It's a family-run business from Sydney and I really appreciate their support. And if you guys, for my Christian listeners, if you're looking for great Christian apparel, go to thechristianmission.com.au. Without further ado, let's get back to the Grady Stewart episode.
The end of everything. You know what I mean? I'm in Australia as a permanent resident, not a citizen. I was facing getting deported. I didn't think my ex, I was hoping my ex would stay with me. Obviously she didn't. And the day I found out in prison that she had decided to go, to move on, I knew that she wouldn't be taking the daughter that I had known while I was out. And then she gave birth to my son, that they wouldn't be coming back with me if I got deported, which down the line made me have to make a choice of going into a very dangerous detention center or being free and clear in California, So, but that's what made me write it. I knew what was coming. I got myself into that jam, and now, we're on the backside of it.
Have you always been a person who sit down and reflect and journal? Do you think journal is important?
Well, I've never journaled. Actually, I have journaled a few times in my life, but for the first few months in prison, I didn't. And then something clicked in, and I said, you know what? I'm going to write down what happens as I go through prison. And I wouldn't say I journaled every day, but I journaled quite a bit. I've got like 1,300 pages of handwritten journals of like everything that happened in the day-to-day prisons of Western Australia. Yeah. I'll tell you, it wasn't Disneyland, but it also wasn't terrible.
Did you see your circle getting smaller as things happened to you? Was people like through the height of things, did you see a lot of people that were there, and then through the lows, a lot of people that weren't? Was it a situation of who you hung around with, is what I'm saying?
Well, it's so funny. Every single drug movie you've ever seen, like Blow or whatever, it's true. Like it starts off, I just was doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and everybody was with me, and I was feeling great. And then all of a sudden, bang, out of nowhere, everything's out of control. People are gone. Your friends are ratting you out. The deeper you go, you start. I guess you could probably. Have you ever seen the space shuttle take off into like outer space?
SpaceX, yeah.
Yeah, well, the space shuttle and how it just like starts losing its fuel tanks and everything like that. That's kind of what's happening. When you start going into that drug world and you decide to take a life of crime, you've got your friends that are with you, and all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, this guy's gone," and they start leaving, and then there's another one that ditched it, and eventually It's you by yourself with a bunch of people you never knew before.
Yeah.
You know,
I want to get into the entire story because for those that don't know, you have quite an extensive background in boxing and MMA and bringing over people to Australia, going against the Western Australian Commission. And back when MMA was I think it was banned in WA at one stage.
No, that's right.
And then now it's become the pinnacle location for the UFC. We just had a UFC event over here. But then there's the dark side where everything sort of switched and then you ended up in prison. Where would you like to start?
There's so many starting and ending points. It's crazy, but well, let's start with
For those of you that don't know, I'm with Grady Stewart, former boxer, former coach, former promoter, who brought over the likes of Shamrock. You've been around Tito Ortiz. You've been around people like Danny Green. You've been around a lot of major athletes within the MMA and boxing world. Yeah. And then you ended up in jail. For?
Well, they called it a crime. I just called it a slight misunderstanding. But
all right. What was it? What was the misunderstanding? How did we end up in the court, and how did the judge end up saying, Grady Stewart, you need to go to be locked up for how many years? How many years?
I did well 3 years. 3 years in Western Australian prisons, and then I did 6 months in the detention center.
And you were born in Huntington Beach, California.
No, I was born in El Paso, Texas, which is right on the border of Juarez, Mexico. But I've lived 3/3 of my life. The first third was in Texas, second third in California, and the third has been in Australia.
So what was the misunderstanding? Run us through it.
Well, I had been here since 2008, and I never touched drugs. I started coaching, in some like smaller gyms around town and grew my name. I actually had traveled all over the world with Ken Shamrock and his people. I'd worked with a lot of UFC guys in the States, and Shamrock came to fight Pedro Rizzo in Sydney years ago. And like, Grady, come over. And I was living in this small town called Carnet. Like, people don't understand how, like, I came from, I'm not from LA. It's Huntington Beach is about 45 minutes to an hour south, just depending from LA. And people don't understand. I literally left Huntington Beach to land in Carnet. It's like population 3,000. Prerequisite to go there is you're either a minor or you're a criminal or you're both. And then the other is like the indigenous that live there. So I ended up living there for a few years. While I was there, I got a call from Lance Foreman, who was Ken Shamrock's manager for many, many years, good friend of mine. And I had, I'd been with those guys in the States. And they're like, hey, we're fighting Pedro Rizzo in Sydney. Will you come over? So I went over there. I met the guys like Soa Palele, Lucas Big Daddy Brown that had never had a fight at that point. And later I coached, and he ended up at one point becoming the heavyweight champion of the world boxing, even though that was MMA back then. And so it set me on a course, and then I came over here, and I'd been very clean. I never did drugs. Like I did do I'm very good at getting injured, so I did have took painkillers and stuff like that, but it wasn't anything radical. And as I started promoting my fights, there were so many guys that wanted hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, no. And then I got injured. When I got injured, I had had a shoulder surgery, failed. Another one failed. I've had 3.
Why did they fail?
The doctor didn't know how to tie a knot. Pretty much, apparently is not
Perth doctor.
Yeah.
Right.
Horrible, arrogant guy, but it doesn't matter. But he's terrible. I fell 3 times. He went in to fix my shoulder, and then I I guess you move a tendon for your shoulder and you have to reattach the bicep.
Yeah.
But when he did that, he didn't attach the bicep right. So I got out, I rehabbed my whole shoulder. I came back and my bicep was popped. He's like, oh, well, you must have done something wrong. I was like, what did I do wrong? I sat in a sling. And anyway, this guy, 3 times it happened. And I hit a depression. I couldn't go into my gym. I was working on a workman's comp claim.
Yeah.
Like if you can go in, so I was actually getting paid to do nothing.
Yep.
I was getting paid to do nothing, but I couldn't go into the gym and I was like depressed. And I have some friends that were like party people, but they would always hide drugs from me. And there was 2 beautiful girls there one night at this party, and they're like, and I'm in my sling that I'd been in for like almost a year. Like, hey, do you want some cocaine? And at that point, these girls were beautiful. If you guys don't know about Perth women, Perth women are the most beautiful women in the world. But I mean, compared to the 55 countries and the thousands of cities I've been to, Perth is the best. They might be somewhere better, but I don't know where. So when these girls offered me cocaine, they could have offered me petrol or gas, and I would have huffed it. I was like, let's do it. So anyway, I started some cocaine with them, and I was like, wow. And I started talking about like, you know, of course, like going through school where I came through, you know what drugs cost, but I knew what drugs were worth and all that, but I had stayed away from them for years.
It's interesting that it was cocaine because in Perth there's a huge epidemic of ice. And cocaine's, it's interesting that it was that instead of the epidemic that it is in Perth.
Yeah, well, thank God they didn't offer me ice.
Yeah. There might have been a bigger misunderstanding.
So they offered me cocaine, and then in America, I remember like I graduated high school in 1993, and I remember buying grams of cocaine one time. We'll digress a bit. I was like 16 years old. They're like, I had some cool guys in the high school. We used to throw parties across the border. So there's El Paso, and you go over the bridge, and over there's Juarez, and that's the strip. And we're like some cool, and you can buy drugs anywhere. Anyway, they're like, go over to this bar, buy us some drugs, and come back and buy us like a gram of coke, come back. It was $40. I go over there. They gave me the money. I went to go buy. They gave me $60. I went over there to buy a gram of coke. Guy gives me a gram of coke, and the Mexican police are like, "Hey, what are you doing?" in Spanish, and I was like, "Nothing." I'm walking back. Just pull up, and he searched me. He's like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, damn." But I've been bribing him since I was 13. I wasn't stressing. And I go, "Well, that's cocaine." He goes, "That's it. You're going to jail." And I already knew how this game worked. So I was like, "I'll tell you what. I've got $20. You can have it. Just let me go." And he's like, "Make it 50." I was like, "Man, I've got 20. Take it or leave it." So this is $20, 1983. He goes, "All right, I'll take it." I give him the $20. He starts walking off, and I go, "Hey, what about the cocaine?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, sorry," and hands it back to me.
Really?
Yeah. So later I did time in Mexican prison, but that could be another time.
Yeah, we'll save that for another one. Yeah. Let's discuss this misunderstanding first.
So I understood, I paid $40.
Yeah.
I did cocaine with these girls, and I was like, "How much?" I go, "How much does this stuff cost?" Like, "It's only like $450 a gram," and I was like,
"What?"
I was like, $450 a gram? Are you kidding me? So I had been training in America. I've worked with everybody in Compton. I had some friends in Compton, and I was like, "Hey, can you send me $5,000 worth of cocaine?" Long story short, they sent it to me, and I just brought it over, and I put it on a table, and I didn't realize $5,000 in cocaine was worth a lot of money here, and the purity was a purity that you just don't get. I put it on a table, and people were like, "Can I take the go bags?" I was like, "Take the go bags, I don't care." And then somebody that works, let's just say, in the legal profession, he's like, "Could I buy an ounce of this for $10,000? And I was like, "How much is an ounce?" And he's like, "Oh, it's like this much." And I was like, "It was like that much." I said, "Take 2." I didn't understand. And then I was like, "Wait a minute here." And then I realized there's so many women coming. And I was like, "Hold on, I'm not getting my ass beat. My shoulders still hurt. People love me. I pay very little for that thing, and I'm selling it for a lot." I said, why did they not offer this in university? It's like, this is the best career I could ever. Anyway, fast forward 2 years from then, I was sitting behind that gated community with, the rest of my kind.
What were the charges that they charged you with? So you didn't do too much drugs because you were, in the martial arts space, boxing space, and you were quite fit. You rejected a lot of drugs, and then you got an injury, which a lot of fighters do. They get an injury, they hit depression. Yep. There's a whole hurdles that they go through, and then this beautiful woman offers you cocaine.
Well, there was two. It was what I would have thought about.
Offers you cocaine, and then you have some, and then cocaine is actually quite popular in Australia. Yeah. The nose beers, as the Aussies call them. And then you see how much it is, because it is very expensive, right?
Yeah, unbelievable.
And so you go, oh, well, my mates in America can get it cheaper. Let me call them and get some sent over, which you do, and you successfully get over $5,000.
$5,000 worth of American,
American cocaine. And did you get done for trafficking?
I got done for trafficking, drug trafficking. Yep.
Gotcha.
Attempting to sell and supply. Gotcha.
Understood. Yeah. And then when that happened, was that when you wrote that poem? Well, when you knew you just got sentenced?
So when they caught me originally, like I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, obviously, but because I got caught. But so when they caught me originally, they didn't actually. I sent somebody else to a hub to pick it up. Yeah. It was actually a kid that I had taken guardianship of. He suffered from...
Sponsored?
Yeah, well, he had a real rough life coming up, and Aboriginal Services had contacted me like, hey, we understand that you work with at-risk youth. We've got this kid. He's a dwarf. He's been bullied at school, and he's tried to commit suicide. They've cut him down, brought him back, but we want to know if he can live with you. I was like, hold on a second. Long story short, I was like, I haven't even met the kid, and you want him to live with me? I don't even know who you are. Like, so I said, bring him over, and they brought him over, and man, he had a horrible, like, the way it was brought up with, like, he never had hot water. At one shower, he lived in the middle of Manjimup, where they pick wildflowers in a trail. Didn't really have understanding of how life worked. So I took him under my wing. I took him with me. I had him got him friends. Well, kind of fast forward to it, but Danny Green helped with him. So Palele, a bunch of Eagles players, and he went from like 3 friends on Facebook to like very well known. I had him for 10 years, and then there were some drugs that got stuck.
You looked after him for 10 years?
Yeah, I still look at him. He still comes over.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Fair enough, yep.
So there was a package that they had to try to do a controlled delivery on like a few times. Yeah. And I had it set up where it was set to go to a place, but it was an address without the specific one. And I was trying to get them left there. They wouldn't leave it there. So I called the people in Compton. I said, they're not leaving it. It's gone. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no problem. About I don't even remember, it was like 2-3 months later, the guy calls me because he called the contact that sent it, and they're like, hey, this is the UPS hub. We're gonna nobody's signing for this package. We're gonna send it back to you. Well, he calls me and he goes, hey, I think that package is good, man. The UPS just called. He goes, send somebody that they want to, he goes, that's not good, like too close to you, to go pick it up and see what happens. So I said, well, I'll send my dwarf, because my dwarf said that well, he's not dwarf, like I said, they're gonna know that he obviously didn't have anything to do with this, like in case
yeah, I got you. It's just a funny phrase.
So I sent him, and the next thing you know, I told him to take it to another place. Yeah. And when I got home, he was in my front yard, and I'm drinking a Corona. I'm like, hey, cool. I was like, you here? And I was like, yeah, he's in. I like give it. I've got pictures of the thing, like giving him, hugging it. I walk inside, and there's a package on my kitchen table, and I said, why did you bring that here? He goes, I don't know. I just brought it here. I said, I'll go, well, fuck it, it's here. Let's crack into it. Like, so we kind of opened it. It was like styrofoam. I'm looking there going, what the hell is this? What is this? And I look at and then boom, the cops came in. They're like, get down.
Oh, so they had been watching you. And then
they replaced it.
They replaced the drugs with styrofoam.
Yeah.
And then when you brought it back, you guys went into it and it was styrofoam, and that's when they broke in and said, get down.
Yeah. And so, that was like 2 days before my ex gave birth to our first kid. She was 9 months pregnant. She came in and they raided us. So they took me into jail, and I bailed out. Like, I was out within 1 day, like, bailed out. There's an article in the paper, American man faces lengthy prison sentence. And there's about another year in between that. And I said, hey, I'll beat this charge because they never caught me with the drugs. They only got this guy, delivered it here. There's written, like, in the statements, is like me saying, what the fuck is this? I said, I'll beat this. But unfortunately, at this point, I had a cocaine addiction, and it was a big one.
Right.
I couldn't get natural energy, so I was literally just depending on chemicals for energy. And I wasn't boxing. It wasn't working out. Like, literally, I was living a degenerate life.
Yep.
But, you know, it's a degenerate life that anytime you ever want to wake up for like 48 hours, you could go make $100,000, $150,000. Luckily, I was selling smaller amounts for massive margins. And where here is like, if you buy here, you grab a large amount for smaller margins. The margins I was making were huge.
It was hard to say no.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah.
But
no, definitely not. It's one of those things that if you have a lapse in mental fortitude, like an injury, and you get into a depressed state, it's one of those things that like some people will just do anything. And unfortunately, on your circumstance, you fell into making a fuck ton of money. Although it's illegal, it just was easy to make a fuck ton of money when you're in a depressed state. So you just spiraled into a situation. And how's Australia's justice system compared to America's justice system?
So I did time in county jail, which is like it's like remand jail here. Like, it's like, hey, so that was hard. The first day there, you go up, there's like 12 bunks in 12 bunks in a room, and they're like, and only 8 of them were taken. Like, you go to your bed, you can't sleep there. Literally, you had to fight for it the first day, and then after that, it's school, and then they expect you to fight. In America, they're rough. You have to once you start going up, and you're gonna be stuck there for months. County jails in America are rough and legit. Here it's no different. Like they just take longer, and they don't attack you right away. They see who's weak. They see who's that. Luckily, because I trained who I did, like I had a lot of people that had come through my gyms, and a lot of people, there's boxing and crime kind of come hand in hand in Perth, and so I was already known there. So I went in there like I had it probably a lot easier than everybody.
Run me through your first day.
I remember it well. So first they took me from there's Joondalup Lake Police Station to the watch house. Mm-hmm. Then the watch house, they take you to Cohea. And then in Cohea, they put you in like a holding cell so they can disperse you into whatever unit you're going into, which is usually disbursement, which is Unit 7. And I remember there was this like black guy, and he was, I don't know what he was tripping on, but he was tripping on like mushrooms or acid or something. And this guy was just cracking up, like laughing at it. It actually made it quite easy because I was coming down. Like when they arrested me, I'd just done a bunch of cocaine, and drank, and then I tried to outrun the cops, which I did until I popped my hamstring. So I had a popped hamstring. I was drunk, coming down, like hung over. Oh, it was horrible. There's this black guy that was just cracking up, man, cracking up. And then they had this other guy. And this other guy keeps telling me, "What'd you do? What'd you do? Like, how long are we going to be in here?" He's like panicking. So I just looked over and I was like, I just shot a guy in the face. And the guy was like, "What?" And I saw his face. He must have been in there for something minor. I said, yeah, he was talking when he should have been listening. So I shot him through his face. I go, he's not talking anymore. And the guy goes like that. And everybody looked at me and just sat down. Of course, I'm lying. But yeah. So anyway, we went through and yeah, they put me down. You start realizing now you're in, they put you in a 2-cell room, bunk, one on top of the other. Mm-hmm. The guy I was with, he was a career criminal that would go and ask people for their receipts outside of Home Depot. Yeah. And he would get their receipts, and whatever their receipt was, he would then walk into Home Depot and steal what they had bought. He would steal what they had bought, and then he would come back and return it and get money. So he would either get store credit or whatever he did, but like that was, so you start learning like how all these people make money, you know,
how the system operates from within, who's doing what, who's ganging up with who. Is there cliques like in America in jails? Like I see these American movies or whatever, and then you've got different races. You've got Bloods, Crips. You've got the MS-13. You've got 18th Street Gang, and probably a bunch of local gangs. Those are just the popular ones that are on shows or whatever. In Cohea, is that similar?
Nah, I mean they do. They have gangs. They like the Comancheros have their own wings. Like, and then they have like Unit 9 and 10 is where like all the bikers went, or the bikies went, stuff like that. But it's not like you have to hang out with your own race or whatever. You can go with anybody. Yep. But. Yeah, it's just like they have better units. So when you go in, they're like Unit 7 is like your disbursement unit, or like where they're gonna move you from. Yeah. And while you're in there, they assess you, like if you're gonna be a good guy, then and you get a job, then you go into a place called self-care where you can cook for yourself, and I mean it's not that hard in there. But I don't get me wrong. At any point, I mean, I've seen people everything you see in a prison movie, I've seen it. It happened. It happens. Like and it's funny because I've been in a riot.
Inmates have staged a 2-hour rooftop riot at Cohea Prison, forcing officers to draw their guns. The shirtless men grabbed whatever they could to smash windows in WA's third jail rampage in as many weeks.
Whatever you see in a movie, it happens, but it goes from like absolute staleness and then something just kicks off. I was actually playing tennis with Ben Cousins one time.
What?
Yeah, Ben Cousins. I was playing tennis with Ben Cousins, and then these guys like all of a sudden one guy asks, like they're Aboriginal guys. One guy asked a guy for like rolling papers for his cigarettes, and when he went to go grab him, the guy pulls out like he had straightened a spring and just like stuck him like in the stomach like a knife, like through his stomach a few times. Then it started cracking, and everybody started fighting. We're just like watching it, and the guy's like, "Hey, can I take your racket?" And I was like, "Here you go." He grabs my tennis racket, whack right over some guy's head. But I was like, man, like it was unbelievable.
Because Ben Cousin went away for cocaine as well, huh?
No, I think he was in there for VRO or something like that. Just trying to talk to his kids. Like he had.
He did have a cocaine problem, and
I think it was more the ice problem, but he had an ice problem, but his thing was just trying to talk to the ex for his kids. He wasn't. He's actually such a nice guy, man. He's a good guy.
Oh, is it? Yeah, he's a legend in general. I think he's now become a a figure in Eagles, and yeah, that's wild. So you were in there with him. Yeah. There's not many. So there isn't too many gangs in there. There is people. You got to still be on edge because people are getting stabbed. There's fights happening all the time. Yeah. And you went in there in an interesting time as well. What year did you go in there?
So I mean, it was the end of 2019, but 2020.
Getting into COVID.
Yeah. So I remember hearing about COVID. Like I think it was just at the beginning of 2020.
You were locked up when you heard about COVID?
Yeah. And I was working in the library, and literally like we had like 6 library works. The library, the lady that worked in the library, I swear, I don't know where they hire these people from, but oh my God.
What happens?
Dumb looked like Albert Einstein compared to her. Like she was this lady. Oh my God. Anyway, she was like 4'8" and 4'8" tall and probably 4'8" wide and dumb as shit, man. Like, but man, she. Later, I got fired. I cleaned it.
You got fired from a prison library. How do you do that, Grady? What do you mean,
it's so
mate?
crazy, bro. First of all, when COVID just first came out, I sneezed. Literally, I just sneezed in the library.
Yeah.
She locked me down. She told them I had COVID because I sneezed. Literally one sneeze. They locked me down in my cell for 5 days. I couldn't leave. And that was when they're first just learning how to like test you up your nose.
Yeah, the PRC.
One
PCR.
sneeze, I had to do 5 days in the library. So anyway, while I was working there, she's like, she calls me up and she's like, you're taking Whitehaven, which is like a rehabilitation course that they come in externally for, and you can and helps you like with your sentencing, show you're trying to prove yourself and like you're not trying to do things again. She goes, well, I don't want you taking that if you're going to work in the library. I'm like, we're in prison. I make like $5 a day working for you, and they allow it. She's like, well, I don't like it. So I went to the thing. She's like, why did you go to your counseling? And I say, lady, I have to go to my counseling. This is part of like being in prison. You have these courses so that you can do this, and then they reduce your sentence and it shows you're doing better. It's part of it. And I said, but I tell you what, I'll clean that staff bathroom for you if you just give me a little smile. She's like, well, I'm not smiling, but clean it. I was like, all right, cool. So anyway, I go in there and clean it. We leave at 3 o'clock. We leave at 3 o'clock in the afternoon from the library. She takes us back. We go back to our unit, whatever. Anyway, and then the next morning they pick you up like around 8 o'clock to go back to work. Mm-hmm. So she comes up at 8 and she goes, I just came. You're not coming to work today. You're fired. Fired for what? She goes, the staff bathroom be clean, which, by the way, I volunteered to clean. She didn't ask me to. I volunteered to clean it. She goes, the staff bathroom you cleaned. I went in there this morning and there was skid marks in it. I was like, hold on a second here. I said, I finished at 3 o'clock. And then there is this is a staff bathroom. Yeah. The prisons don't close at 3 o'clock, and it's a staff bathroom. So guess who uses the staff bathroom from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock in the morning? Who? The staff. You know what I mean? Course. Yeah, the bathroom's being used, and she shows up at like 7:30 in the morning, and it's got skid marks in there, and fires me for it. I'm like, are you freaking? Are you? And so that's like self-care. Self-care is that's where you want to be. Like they give you. You don't really make your. You can buy like food and stuff that you can kind of make, but not really. And then like,
how do you get to self-care?
You have to have a job, and you have to be like a non-delinquent.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, the problem is I'm funny. Some people just don't get my jokes. And so she just didn't get so then they take me out from Unit 5 and they put me in Unit 4, which is, it's all the people that don't want to work, the drug addicts, like guys that are like just reoffending. Then also they have the Aboriginals run the show, and their families are there, and they like to stay in there, and so they put me back into the what you call the Bronx, Unit 3 for 4 months because there was skid marks in the staff bathroom that I had cleaned like 3 hours at 3 o'clock before. Yeah,
she definitely had it in for you.
Oh yeah.
And so when you're in there and the announcement comes in that there's this global pandemic, how did the announcement come in? Are you guys watching TV? Is there a guard that comes in that says, hey, everyone sit down, we need to have a discussion? Or did they say, everyone lock up yourselves? And like, what was the process? How did you guys find out that this pandemic was happening?
Well, we heard it on the news. And then one thing you need to know about the news is don't listen to it. Whatever they're saying is like, no matter what they're saying, it's not true. It's funny because they it started off with like, when I did that sneeze and she locked me down for sneezing. I couldn't believe it, but they locked me down for sneezing. And then anybody that sneezed, if you showed any kind of like flu-like symptoms, like at the very beginning, you went into an MPC, which is a medically padded cell.
Okay.
And you'd be in there for up to 10 days. I mean, just for having symptoms. And then eventually they end up locking the whole prison down for 23 hours and 50 minutes a day. And I don't even remember how long that was, but for however many months it was, but it was for a crazy amount of time. We got out 10 minutes a day for a long time. Like just imagine going into like an oversized closet.
Yeah.
Funny thing, I had this cellmate, Hugh Van Hung. He was only like 5 foot tall, but this guy, he was able to shit 4 times a day. So when you locked up with somebody 23 hours and 50 minutes a day and they're shitting 4 times a day, man, it is not cool.
Yeah.
So like this dude, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, they let you out for 10 minutes a day so you can make a phone call to the family, you know. And then there was no family visits, no visits from anybody. Yeah, just like it was like a prison sentence inside a prison sentence.
Did they make you guys wear masks?
Yeah, they made you wear masks, and then down the road, I mean, there was actually a riot there because they weren't able to get drugs through. So the people were starting to riot. They kicked down the doors. They ripped off the toilet seats, broke shelves in all the units. I saw like I was sitting in my cell at the top, and I saw like lasers coming through there. I saw a guy got shot. They shot him in the. It's funny because you're supposed to. They have the bean bags that they shoot out of shotguns.
Yeah,
and you're not supposed to do like headshots. Everybody got shot in the head. So, these guys are either the best shots or the worst shots in the world. But like I saw this guy hit this guy in the cheek, knocked his teeth out, knocked his eye out. Like that would happen right next to me. And then they burnt down industry, they burnt down the gym, they burnt down the laundry.
All because they couldn't get drugs during COVID.
Well, it was that and the fact that we're locked down for so many years. Yeah, but like you know, the only time a prison's calm is when. Well, it's calm and it's also, but when the drugs are coming in, you want a riot, shut down all the drug supply for a bunch of drug addicts that have nothing to do but do drugs, and then all of a sudden it kicks off.
Was everyone forced to be vaccinated?
Well, that's why I'm so upset about this because I'm not dumb. Like I see what's going on. I'm a foreigner. I've been here for years, and I could have been a citizen. I just didn't I actually had passed my citizenship test, but you can only become a citizen on January 26th.
Okay.
So I had passed my test, and I was waiting for January 26th, and I got arrested in October. I passed it and lost my chance to be a citizen. I'd been here for like 12 years or something at that point, or more. And anyway, so I found out my ex had left me for somebody I had introduced her to. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, while pregnant, we had a kid together, and she was like giving birth to my other one. So they said, they came out and they said, okay, so you make your digressions through, you start off in a maximum, super max, and then they do an IMP, which is like individual management. I can't even remember, whatever program, whatever. And then they say, okay, and the lower points you have, you go down, and then you go from maximum to medium to minimum. So I think the first I was in medium security in self-care, which is like Acacia. That was the best. That's the best place to be, like, because it's a private prison. It's not filthy like the state prisons. And they said they literally. I still have the papers because I'm sure they murdered us now with these vaccines. I know some people quite a few people that have like died of myocarditis.
And blood clots and everything. Yeah.
So they said. And they said, okay, it is mandatory you get the vaccine. Yeah. If you do not get the vaccine, if you don't get the vaccine, there's no visits. So I'm facing deports, and I just had a kid and a 1-year-old daughter that I love with more than anything. So you'll get no visits. You will get moved from a lower security prison to a maximum security prison, and you will not have the option for parole. So, of course, I let them murder me. I'm not dead yet, but I probably will be because of this thing.
Did they allow you to select the vaccine?
Nah.
Like as a last gesture, or they just shot you up? Yeah. What did they give to the prisoners?
I got Pfizer. I know they injected me with Pfizer. But yeah, like, man, in absolute protest, and then. Yeah.
If you didn't get it once, you'd get put into maximum, or if you
that's what they put
didn't get it twice.
Well, that's what they put out. Like, I actually never knew because everybody got it. Like I don't know anybody that didn't get it because like what are you gonna like?
You want parole. You don't want to be in maximum security.
Yeah.
You want visits from your family as much as possible. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that they would have stripped from you. And you're locked up in there and you just want everything to end. I see that, and people looking to extend your time, and that's the last thing anyone wants in there. Did they force everyone to just get the one, or was it forced to get more than one?
All of them. You had to do it. Yeah. Oh, you had to do it, and then the nurses come and told you how stupid you are if you weren't taking it. And of course, now looking in hindsight, those were the stupid people. I even kept telling them, I was like, "You guys are going to see down the road. This is not right."
Yeah.
Oh, we've had this study and that study. I'm like, but man, they forced us to get that thing, and I would say anybody with a thinking mind didn't want it.
What was it? What's some experiences what are some stories that you had in prison, in Australian prison?
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you, so the Aboriginals run the show, but that's by volume. But the guys that really run the show when they're a smaller populace is the Islanders, and I started training those guys. When you've lost everything, you start looking for hope. So I became a Christian, and as I was training all these Islander guys, I told them, I said, "Hey, we're going to church." So I took the guys to church, and you have to sign in so we get out. Oh my God! I love that. They are because they don't have the numbers, they probably don't run it like the Aboriginals do. But when they're there, if there's 10 of them, they run the show. Like if there's 10, like we went to church and I'm pushing 6'2", 110 kilos, and I was the smallest one. Like
big boys.
Oh man, I'm talking like they rested their forearms on my head. You know, that's how big. And we go in and there's serial killers in church and they got face tattoos, stand over bed. And I'm talking, there's guys that are 6'8", like giants. And there's not enough weights in the weight room for them to lift it. I look over and they have got one guy up against the wall. They've slapped him. One guy, they've thrown him to the hall. They're kicking him. And the priest goes, "Grady, what is going on?" I just looked at him and I go, "Salvation?"
There was a big fight in the church.
Yeah, because these guys wanted this. They wanted the back two rows, and they have all these like serial killers instead of them that were sitting in the back two rows, and they were told to move, and they didn't.
And are you guys coming in from different prisons to this church, or this church is in the prison?
It's in the prison.
Okay,
it's
got
on
you.
Sunday. So like most people go to church just to get out of the cells, especially if you're in the blocks. Everyone puts it like there's people sitting in. Just they put you in by unit. Whatever. I don't even remember if like we're the first or last, but there was people in the last two rows, and people didn't want to get out of our guys' seats, and they just removed them physically from church. I'm like, guys, we're in church, man, for God's sake. But we did that. And then there's another group of. I became an artist. That's one of my paintings there.
Yeah. I was seeing you have amazing paintings here.
Yeah. So I became an artist, and there's this guy that at first I liked him, and then. I didn't just realize that he was actually an absolute piece of like shit. He's this Aboriginal guy that had been like later I found out like what his charges were, and they just beat children and stuff like that. And anyway, I had because there's a common room, and we're in there, and I have my paints in there, and I painted, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy stole your paint." So he's part of this little gang that like I pretty much whooped that entire gang's ass. It's funny because
these pedophiles, is that what you mean?
No,
or did they beat kids? What do you mean?
So that prison had a lot of pedophiles, and I wouldn't say those guys exactly, but there were pedophiles inside that crew. Yeah, because so as you make your digressions, you go down to max, medium, minimum, and the minimum is Carnet, and Carnet has a unit 2.
Yeah,
and like I don't want to go by like make any racist thing, but there's certain people that are more accepting of pedophilia than others. And anyway, I'm not saying these guys were there, but they had one of them had stolen my pencil. So in prison, you can call somebody you can call a bank robber, a murderer, a murderer. You can call a drug dealer, but you cannot call a rapist, or a pedophile, because if you do, you get moved from minimum security back to like a more...
Really?
Man, they are treated so preferentially. It is ridiculous.
Fuck?
Like, I'm just gonna make a bold statement saying a lot of the staff at Carnet Prison are pedophiles. I'm thinking that. I got fired from education, which I came and told some of the boys. I was like, they're like, we've been in prison. You know, these are guys that like, we've been in prison for this many years, like 20 years. So we've never heard anybody get fired from education. You know, I got fired because this guy, Ian, was telling another guy, Ross, I wish I knew their last name so I could name and shame, how big his dick looked in some little boy's hand. So I went in there, I popped off on him, and the lady's like, why are you going off on him? I was like, this fucking piece of shit, right here was saying this and that. I said, talking about a little boy's penis in his hand, and they were in an art room that they wouldn't let me in, which I didn't need to be in an art room with him anyway. And come back the next day, and there's another English teacher named Kate. And she's like, why? You need to not stir the pot and all this. I'm like, stir the pot? I go, this guy's talking about like molesting boys, like little boys. And her name, she's an absolute piece of work. I'm sure she's in cahoots with them. She used to like let them come into their room and everything. Like, anyway, I go back the next day, and Fiona, who was the head of the thing, she goes, you don't fit in. We need to let you go. And I was like, what do you mean I don't fit in? She's like, you don't fit in here. We're going to let you go.
Wow.
So they fired me from full-time education, where you do art, because I told the guys to like shut their mouth about talking about kids. I didn't even heard it, but anyway, somebody, back to the other story, went there, and somebody had stolen my paint, and I found out who it was. He's part of this little gang, and I said, hey, you rapist, did you take my paint? He goes, who you call a rapist? And, I had to put him to sleep. You know, I put him to sleep, and then the next day I was drawing in my cell, and I felt something from behind. I turn around, and this kid's only like 5'1", 5'2", but he's got this like, he had sharpened this paintbrush, but a long paintbrush to like razor sharp, and he's like. I was like, I get up, I was like, what's up? And then I realized that he's got like this thing that comes to, I go, what are you going to do with that, you little bitch? He goes, oh, you called my uncle a rapist. And I was like, he is a rapist. It's in the newspaper, you little bitch. You know, like, it's and I chase him out, and then I see the uncle, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get him again. I went to hit the uncle. I clipped him, but I didn't get him clean because I tripped. And as I tripped, this little guy came around with like that big thing. He was about to hit me in the jugular. Luckily, I dipped it. It went through my jaw, through my tooth, and I still chased him around.
Oh, wow.
They try to murder me in there, you know, just because
because you're against rapists and pedophiles, they try to murder you.
Yeah, like that. Just because I didn't take this shit anyway. Like, there's so many stories of like, I don't know. I'm from Texas, and like we just kind of. I was born in Texas. We just like some of the stuff that these people, the fact that I even went to Carnet, there's people in like Acacia Prison, because you can choose either go to Warloo Prison, which is minimum, or Acacia Prison. Carnet Prison, which is also minimum. They're like, everybody's like, go to Carnet, it's so much better. They have the pedophiles, but they're away. Man, they are not away. They have their own times to eat. There's a good story there. They have a good, like, we eat separate. Yeah. But the pedophiles have the jobs in the laundry, cleaning the gym, jobs in the library. You name it, like the easiest, best jobs, all full-time education where you're not really working, you just do it, whatever. If you're what I call a regular prisoner, and this is why the staff really needs to be checked into. I've written it like down, like just how, if you're a regular prisoner, you're working in an abattoir, like 5:30 in the morning, cutting up sheep, cows, whatever it is, like, or you're doing rubbish tips. Or like me, after I got kicked out of full-time education, nobody would hire me because I wouldn't work with the pedophiles. And then finally, a guy, one of like the bikers that I met there, he got me a job in the kitchen, but in the kitchen job, it was like cleaning up slop. And it was just like, I'm like, if you're a regular good guy, nice, no. But if you have molested and hurt a child, you get library. There's no better job than the library. You just sit in the library. This is just in Carnet because
And if they're working, are they getting a lesser sentence?
They're not getting a lesser sentence, but you have to be working to get like into self-care. Now, that's the other thing. Like those guys that
just getting privileges.
Yeah, they get man. They live in prison. The best. They live in the best units. There's self-care at Carnet. There's what I call regular prisoner side, and then there's pedophile side. So if you come in, there's like a year or something wait to get into self-care in Carnet from a regular prison. If you're a regular prisoner, if you come in and you're a pedophile, you're straight in. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. The preferential treatment. They have a Santa Claus sit there one year, and then not too many years ago, you can check it. They got a prisoner to be Santa Claus. The Santa Claus was a pedophile, and he's like, there's family visits, and he's letting little kids sit on their laps.
Oh wow!
Man, it is crazy. It is crazy. The Carnet Prison needs to be. There are pedophiles running that prison.
And do you think this is political, like what, or do you think this is the prison itself?
I have no idea what it is. Like, I just couldn't believe, like, you can't tell them anything, you can't do anything. Like, right is not right. You know what I mean? Like, right is not right. But yeah, I like. It is so mind-boggling. You can't even. They put me in a punishment cell because after I got kicked out of full-time education, I couldn't get a job, and because nobody would hire me, they red-lighted me.
Yep.
And I was in there with some crazy people. It's a 4-person, but like it's down. I think it's hot, no ventilation. Like if it was 40 degrees outside, it was like 45, 50 degrees inside. And that's how. And they stuck me there for months, until you could like finally one guy got me a job, working in the kitchen.
Let's get into a bit of a brighter topic before we close out. What got you into boxing?
Well, I was just like,
because for the listeners that don't know, maybe paint a picture of what you were involved with when it comes to combat sports world.
Yeah. And
then what got you into it?
I can't even remember what actually got me into it. But I had some friends that were in it. Like, it's funny. Like I come from a town, El Paso, Texas, like 95% Hispanic. And then there's like probably 3% whites and the rest but out of 3% whites, that like all of those have money. Well, I was a white guy that didn't have money, with a really very close to the Mexican projects. I was a good kid, but like you just fight where you're coming from, and like I never really fit in with the rich white kids that like because didn't have money, and like I had acne, was bald, like it wasn't so. I just fought, and I fought, and then I learned I just started going to the boxing gyms, and I learned how to fight there. Like, and then I just realized, like, even though my heart was soft, because there's some people that are born fighters. That's not me. I actually want to help people, but there's people that are born fighters that just love to fight. They love the aggression. I was just like a nice kid, but I learned how to fight. But I learned how to do it very well, and like my mechanics are very good, and I've done that over the years. Southeast Texas Gold Glove champion. Like, there's 27 million people in Texas, and I was the heavyweight champion in 1999. Like, I was pretty good at it, and never went pro, but my mechanics were next thing, and then like how to break down fights. And, some people are better fighters than their coaches. I'm a better coach than I am a fighter. But like, if you don't know what you're doing, especially when I was younger, you better pack a lunch. And from there, I worked my way up through, like, I went to Rain Training Center with Mark Munoz, Christoph Christofferson, the Nogueira brothers, and then Shamrock's manager saw me, and he's like, bro. I called him the creepiest guy in MMA, Lance Ford, but he's like, you got to come with me, bro. And like, we took me to meet Ken, and then ended up going with Ken. I was like, this is Ken Shamrock. I grew up watching this guy, and then now I'm like, I'm in South Africa holding pads for the dude. Like, this is crazy. Like, I got to go all over the world with him. Like, from there I met like Soa, and I started my promotion in Perth. He fought on my first show. Soa then fought Bigfoot Silva. I did met Lucas Big Daddy Brown there. Then I traded Lucas Big Daddy Brown to the Australian heavyweight championship. From there, he went on to win the heavyweight championship of the world. And then I started realizing that there was no money really in coaching and like coaching and fighting. It's in the promotion. So I started a promotion, and that's when I started bringing guys over like Tito Ortiz, Rashad Evans, managed Jesse Taylor, brought over guys, Kendall Grove. These are guys that won like the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. I remember Jesse Taylor when he had just won it, and then he went and partied in Las Vegas, and then he laid on the back of the limousine, and then he just smashed out the window.
Apparently, Jesse Taylor and a couple of the guys rented a limo, and when the limo pulled into the valet, Jesse Taylor kicked the window out of the limousine. And if that wasn't bad enough, then he went into the hotel and started terrorizing some of the female guests. And when he was approached by security, he started flipping out and getting hostile with them and basically telling them, you know who I am? I'm a UFC fighter.
Wasn't like he was completely in the UFC, but he was like, I'm the UFC fighter. I'm the UFC fighter. And then I just remember that episode where Dana walks in the room and sees him, and he's just like, nah, removes his contract from him. And he's like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? How are you going to make it in the big leagues when you're a champion? And he removed his UFC contract. That was wild. He was a great fighter, though.
He eventually went back to fight in the Ultimate Fighter Redemption, but he came here.
Yeah, Redemption.
Hey, Jesse lived with me.
Really?
Yeah, he lived with me. I brought him in a fight, and then I ended up managing him, taking it. But this guy, I don't know how to explain him, but he's entertainment, and I'll just say some of the shenanigans that this guy has done. Okay, he's I don't know, at the time he's like maybe 30 years old.
Yeah.
You know when you take a leak in a bar, you just pull your Johnson out and take a leak? No, man. You walk into the bar, and this guy's got his pants around his ankles, and he's taking a leak. I'm like, man, what are you doing, bro? Like, but no, Jesse, he's an animal, man. But he's the nicest, like most sincere guy. He's a great guy. He lived with me for a long time. So I brought him out here, and he never left. So it was good.
Yeah, because did he win UFC Redemption?
Yeah, he won.
Declaring the winner by submission due to a rear naked choke. And now, the Ultimate Fighter Redemption welterweight winner, Jesse JT Money Taylor.
I remember that. And dealing with Tito, Rashad, were these big egos that you had to deal with?
Actually, man, it's funny that you see, like, for everybody has different experience. When I brought Tito over here,
yeah,
you see on TV, you think, and I work with Shamrock, who legitimately hated Tito, so when I brought it, there was a little bit of a controversy. But when I brought Tito over here, like, I thought he was, you see him on TV and he's like ego and all that, man, he was the most down-to-earth guy. He did like, something she just ordered, but like he handled everything like business, but he handled it, like he did have his wild side to it, but he did all the seminars, all of the cities, everything, seminars. He was there, like worked with the signed autographs, did everything, that he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Rashad was like, that wasn't Rashad.
Wasn't Rashad? He was
nah. Rashad, like, that was not Rashad. Rashad left like with fights early. Like that was when they banned the cage. So I had to last minute I had to make from the cage to a boxing ring, and then he was supposed to like stay afterwards and sign shirts. Yeah. Which he wanted to go somewhere else and like just split.
Because I always think it would
left all the fans waiting to sign autographs, and he just got in the car and left. And
I would think it would be the other way around. I would have thought that Tito Ortiz was the one that was, a bit too egotistic, because I watched Rampage and the Rashad Ultimate Fighter, and when the Rampage took out the door, and that was hilarious. Yeah. But Rashad always seems like that. I don't know, that well-educated, like, on time kind of person, handles his business, but that's the opposite, you reckon?
Well, everybody's going to have their own experience, but he just, what he did with my fight, that's what happened.
Yeah.
He just didn't, in my opinion, fulfill what he was supposed to do. It created some little problems afterwards, but that's all right.
And what happened with the Western Australian commissioners?
All right. Hold on. Time out. I could have pissed so bad, bro.
Yeah, go for it. We'll take a break. We'll take a break quick. And we're back.
All right.
And we're back. Yeah. So what happened with the Western Australian Commissioner? So these events could be held back in the day, and there was a point where they just switched, and they were like, MMA is illegal in WA.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So, like you said, we just had UFC 305 here.
Yeah.
Big event, sponsored by like tourism and everything.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I came over and started bringing it over, like working with Ken Shamrock. And Ken Shamrock had actually even mentioned the bare knuckle fighting and stuff like that. And we're already having problems with like the cage. They decided the Colin Barnett government decided to ban the cage, not MMA, but only the cage. So I was doing all these fights in the cage, which kept it absolutely safe.
Yeah.
And through one of our sponsors, it actually turned out that Colin Barnett's wife was irate about, so they were close family friends, and this is what I get from the close family friend of Colin Barnett. He's one of our sponsors. He said his wife was irate that they were doing cage fighting here and that it was barbaric to get rid of the cage. So they said, yeah, you can do MMA, but you just can't do it in the cage.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I debated him. I had just built, I put everything, my whole life into building Perth fights up. Like, I've been bringing guys over, like I spent blood, sweat, and tears, and all these gyms that were making money off of MMA in the cage, bringing guys over, sponsors, everything. Nobody wants to see MMA in a ring. And when that happened, sponsors get pulled out. Less people started going to the gyms to fight. They didn't want to see the fights. Less people come into the fights because nobody wants to see a fight in the ring.
Especially because UFC blew up, so they're expecting MMA in a cage.
It was crazy. Like I went and I met with the Sports Commission of Western Australia. I mean, the who's who was there, and we had everything in front of them, like the demographics, how many it's the fastest growing sport in the world, what it does for tourism, what it does for everything. And man, it's just like, it was like, it's beating a dead horse. They just didn't care. Once they made up, their mind, they make up their mind. And then obviously down the road, after they put me out of business because of that, then they saw that the UFC wanted to come here, and they did a show, and it turned out to be super successful.
Yeah.
Sold out right away. And then they did another one, sold out right away. And then another one sold out right away. And now they're on board. The West Australian wasn't even allowed to write articles about MMA. Like they could do boxing, but not MMA. Like because I had both boxers and MMA guys, and I had writers for West Australian, and they're like, because of the politics, we can't write anything positive about MMA, but we could do it for the boxing for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they blocked everything in Western Australia. They stopped the newspaper from writing it. They stopped MMA in a cage. It doesn't really make sense. It's weird. And now it's boomed the economy. Now, 305 was a massive success.
Yeah.
The weigh-ins was fantastic. I was there. Ask Volk a few questions. It was a good event. Now, leaving.
So Volkanovski.
Yeah.
So I signed Volkanovski to come fight in Perth, probably maybe 12 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, he signed. He was coming here. I was like, do you have the who's who? I signed him to say something happened where he couldn't come, but he I think I have posters of him coming and stuff like that. What's his name? Cohea, France.
Yeah.
He won his first title from me.
Really?
Yeah.
He got a massive KO over Usyk.
The first title, he's got his title from here. We've had a lot of good fighters here, man.
That's why I wanted to speak to you, because such a decorated past, and then I guess it was the injury.
No, it wasn't the injury. So what happened was them banning the cage bankrupted me. After I put all these guys that are now in the UFC on my show fighting, I still try, but because I'm a very loyal person, I even told everybody, I said, hey, in Perth, there's a lot of pockets of like bickering. It's funny because it's a fight scene. You think fighters fight, but it's kind of like you're with this crew, so we don't like you, and we're like with this crew.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah. So, I just came into town, and they're like, well, this guy's got a show, and that guy's got a show, and these guys work security, and so you know what I just did? I went to all the guys that have shows, and I said, I want to do a show, but I don't want to compete with you. I want to work with you. If you do a show, just let me know, and I'll do one 3 months later. And they were good with it. Like, you know, like I wanted to bring everybody together. Yeah. And I said, let's put Perth on the map. Let's get some good guys here. Let me bring some good Americans here, like train you guys. Like, and we were doing it. And man, it was just I fought and I fought and I fought. And they banned the cage that bankrupted me. I bought the best cage you could buy. I bought it through Shamrock's connections. I had the guys that build cages for the UFC. I had them build a cage for me in America, sitting here so that we had the absolute best cage in Australia. And paid huge money for it, like ridiculous. And I think we have 1-2 fights in it, and then they banned it.
How long was it banned for? Do you know?
No clue. At this point, I don't remember. You know, like after that happened, at my gym and everything like that, my arm popped.
That was a massive setback. Yeah, so it was the banning first, and then the injury, which then led to cocaine, and then led to the trafficking charges and being put away for 3 years.
Yeah. And
now you're out.
Now I'm out.
Let's go. I can't wait for the next chapter. Grady, my brother, I'm going to definitely have you in future.
Yep.
New step. And please, you can leave the listeners with whatever you'd like. The platform is yours, my friend.
If I were to say something about like the future, is you never know.
I love it. Yeah. Grady Stewart, it's been a pleasure, my brother. Thank you so much for doing this. We'll do more in future. Cheers. Hey, that was really good. Really good.